Hello and welcome to the KIMIYA Healing Podcast. I'm going to talk today about the relationship that you have with your womb, and particularly when it's a difficult relationship, what you can do to help yourself to heal. The first thing I'm going to say is, those of you who've listened to the podcast and maybe been involved in womb room, you'll know the importance of womb when it comes to your healing, your embodiment, and your spiritual journey. And what I'm talking about today is times when you might encounter, especially at the beginning of the healing journey and at the beginning of your womb embodiment, and also in deeper levels when you start to really go into the layers of womb, when you encounter difficult sensations that feel uncomfortable or threatening. So let's talk about what these sensations can feel like. And I want to stress that it's not just experiences of sexual trauma that can leave imprints in the womb. Womb is a huge energetic space that is essentially a mirror of our identity, and it can be imprinted by so many of our environmental experiences, of our relational experiences. And sometimes these imprints are difficult memories, or they hold difficult associations or connotations. And when we then go to connect with the womb, it can feel like a very foreign place. For some people, I've heard it even feels very alien for them to be feeling their own womb, or else they don't really have sensation in the womb and they feel like it's very numb, or like it feels very solid, like a brick or like a barrier. So the spectrum of sensation in the womb can really be anything and everything. And the most common sensation in the womb when it comes to very deep sexual trauma is the sensation of disgust. And this comes up time and time again when I'm working with clients to help them to heal. The feeling of disgust that is held in the womb that then gets internalized and leads to this belief within the self that there is something wrong with you, or that there is a inherent fault or unworthiness, or some type of dirt or density that you are in your essence. And of course that is a distortion that requires healing. So the feeling of disgust is one that's very common, and it's very common to hold that in the womb space, and that can make it very difficult to access the full and true embodied wisdom of your womb and of your body. Because if you imagine the womb very much part of our foundation, of our base, and if that is something that we cannot be with, if that is something that is inherently threatening or feels very disgusting to us, it becomes difficult to build on that foundation, a feeling of self-love or self-compassion. And these sensations are very real. These sensations are actively embedded in the nervous system, and they are the nerves that are running from the womb into our body and into the brain, and the messages that the impulses are carrying are then interpreted, and usually the interpretation is creates a feeling of danger, or creates a feeling of that we need to reject that sensation. So the first thing I want to say is that the experience of sensations being difficult and something that you need to reject, that's a very normal and natural part of the healing journey. These sensations can be really, really uncomfortable. They can feel like your whole body is repulsed by it, or your whole body wants to just reject it immediately, or you may get the feeling that this particular sensation is something you can't go near, because if you go near it, you might experience something very dark, or you might fall into darkness, or you might have to face something that feels very dangerous to you or doesn't feel safe. it might also feel like you're about to open like a box, like a Pandora's box, and therefore you're unsure or uncertain and hesitant about what that could lead to. Now, it's really difficult to talk about these subtle sensations when you're perhaps struggling to deal with this on your own. That's why it can really help to speak to somebody who's doing womb work and who can work and feel with you your own womb and help you to safely access and embrace and then deepen into the sensation, because these sensations are threatening, they are scary, and sometimes to go into these deeper aspects of yourself, it does help to have a guide, somebody who can hold a space for you, and maybe even who knows what the sensation is related to, so that they can help you to see that actually your womb is not trying to reject you. Your womb is not trying to take you into a place of self-hatred or a place of fear. Your womb is trying to take you into deeper sensations of love, and it's trying to take you deeper into your own healing and embodiment journey. So a lot of the time when I work with clients who've experienced sexual trauma, the womb sensations are either very difficult to feel at all, or when they are starting to get felt, they are very difficult to be with. And unless you've been on this journey yourself, you wouldn't really be able to understand how threatening and how dangerous these sensations actually feel to your body. Because from a mental perspective, it doesn't make any sense to be scared of your own womb. And you would say, well, this is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Why would I be scared of the sensations of my own womb? But I'm here to say that this is normal and natural when you're on this journey of healing, to find these deeper aspects within yourself. And the way that these particular sensations vibrate, and whether it's vibration in the tissues of the pelvic floor or at the nervous system level, or whether it's energetically the vibrations in the field of womb, they can make you feel very unstable, or they can make you feel very on edge and uncomfortable, deeply, deeply uncomfortable within your own being and your own body. And when these sensations are not revealed and are not healed, and they're just left there, what happens is we start to build an identity upon that. We start to associate and judge. And when we judge our own sensations, what happens is we start to create layers on top of this sensation, and we start to essentially create more density than there actually needs to be in our own womb. When this goes on for a number of years, that can make the womb space even harder to access, even harder to feel comfortable with, and even more difficult to love. And then when it comes to experiences of, say, making love or receiving, or even being in a place where we can lead from our womb every day, we can speak from our womb, we can create from our womb, it can make it very difficult, because it's an area where we don't relate to, we don't associate love and positivity and creativity as coming from these particular sensations. So the analogy is, it's a bit like trying to open a Pandora's box in a dark room. And every time you go to open the box, something happens. You get burnt, or you get jolted back, or you get a feeling of doom, or you get a feeling of, oh, this is going to take me into a really bad place, and I can't see what I'm doing. The room's really dark, so this is going to be dangerous. It's better if I don't go here. So I'm going to close the box. I'm going to leave the room, and I'm not going to go back in there. And this is what a lot of people do over the course of many years, especially when they've had experiences of sexual trauma, disconnection, or they've had injury, particularly to the base of their structure, whether it's sacrum, whether it's hips, anything that's affected the pelvis and pelvic stability, and anything that's affected the womb functioning or the pelvic floor. That can include experiences of childbirth, or even experiences of sexual experiences that haven't been nourishing and that haven't felt maybe fully consensual, or that haven't felt like you really got the chance to be embodied in that experience. So it can be difficult at first to embrace the idea that this part of your body has a lot of healing to give you, when it's the part of your body that you that maybe gives you the most problems, or that doesn't feel so relevant to you in your life. And when we start to go into this part of ourselves and we start to access our pelvic floor, and we start to feel at a deeper level what is being held and what we hold and how we hold the pelvic floor and our womb space, we can actually start to reconnect. And the first thing we reconnect with is the sensation. And of course, when we first reconnect with sensation, it brings up a lot. And it can be feelings in other parts of our body. It can also be emotions that can be brought up. So essentially what you're looking at and feeling through is this layer and many layers of not just trauma but also wisdom that are waiting to be accessed. And we access wisdom through our body. We access wisdom through our felt sense and how we interpret that sensation and how deeply we can go into that. So each sensation is essentially the fractal. The deeper we go, the deeper we get to go. So there isn't really an end to how deeply we can feel our own womb, and there isn't an end to how deeply we can feel in general. So the first step is allow yourself to recognize if there are sensations in your body that feel very difficult and unbearable to be with, and they are coming from your pelvis area, they're coming from your womb. The first step I would say is start to allow yourself maybe 15 minutes each day to connect in with your own womb. And you can do the guided womb meditation on this podcast to try to do that. And that could be you lying down with your hands gently on your womb, or you could say, okay, I'm going to just sit up in meditation and I'm going to bring awareness to my womb. And for 15 minutes, I'm going to notice, without judging, what sensations are occurring and what they feel like for me. And you might want to write that down. And 15 minutes is a long time to do this for, because so much can be experienced in even just 1 minute at a sensation level, that if you're sitting for 15 minutes, you've already done a whole load more than you probably thought you ever could. So even if you sit for 1 minute, it's still a decent amount of time if you're feeling. And when you start sitting and feeling the sensations, and the next step then is to allow yourself to recognize the thoughts and the judgments that you've put on those sensations. So for example, you might feel a sharp twang on one side of the womb, or very deep inside the tissues of the pelvic floor, you might feel like a kind of a crumpling or a density or a squeezing. It can be any type of sensation. The next thing to do once you've connected with the sensation is to recognize what your thoughts are. And a lot of the time at the beginning, or if it's uncomfortable, the thoughts will be around how uncomfortable this is. Or the thoughts might be, oh, this is a disgusting feeling, or this is a feeling that I don't want to be with anymore, or this is a feeling of pain, this is a feeling of that makes me feel very imbalanced in my body, or this is a feeling that makes me not even want to be in my body. Continue on recognizing what thoughts are coming, even if they are really uncomfortable thoughts. So you may get thoughts that are telling you, I don't want to be in my body if I have to experience this. And this is often what leads people to dissociate from their own womb, because they don't want to experience this level of deep discomfort within the own body. And the corresponding thoughts that go along with that, you can imagine somebody that is feeling very, very deep discomfort, and we've all felt deep discomfort in our lives. The corresponding thoughts are so, so powerful. They lead us to think all sorts of things about ourselves. Inherently, the thoughts that tend to come up, thoughts that I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me, I'm in danger, my body is trying to punish me, my body is giving me something that I haven't asked for. It can be anything and everything. And I've heard clients talk about the whole spectrum of sensation and corresponding thoughts. So it's a good idea to try to do this in a practical and methodical way by maybe writing down what the sensations are each day and what the corresponding thoughts are. And don't try to fix anything too early. It can be really detrimental if you try to dive in too soon when you're feeling a particular sensation and noticing a belief or an emotion. It can feel, if you're immediately trying to dive in to make it better, the chances are you're going to end up in a bit of a tizzle, for want of a better word, because what you're essentially doing is almost short-circuiting and not fully unraveling. So you're short-circuiting the wisdom and the healing because you're trying to understand and you're trying to self-soothe, but what you're missing is that these sensations are trying to open inside your womb. Energetically, in particular, these vibrations are trying to show you and guide you into deeper aspects of yourself. So it requires a natural flow and unfolding. And the way that we start to flow is when we allow ourselves to experience the emotions that go along with those thoughts and beliefs. So, for example, you feel pain, deep unease, discomfort, cramping in your womb space. It makes you think, my womb is an uncomfortable place to be, my body is imbalanced, there is something wrong with me. That also makes you think perhaps that you are not that you're not good enough, that you're different from everybody else. Whatever these thoughts are, they're going to have corresponding emotions, and these emotions are also worth writing down. So you can go into a session after, say, a few days of noticing sensation and beliefs and thoughts, go into your next session and say, okay, I'm now going to explore any and all emotions that are associated with these thoughts and with these sensations. You may notice as you start to allow yourself slowly and gently to feel into any emotions, feel into your heart, feel into what your heart is communicating to you, any fleeting, even if it just feels like it's an emotion there for a moment or for a glimmer, you want to capture it. You want to recognize it. You want to say, okay, there was some sadness there was some grief, I felt some betrayal, I felt shame, whatever emotion it was. As you start to become emotionally receptive, you will start to generally, you will start to allow yourself to feel more. And when you feel more, you will start to flow. What that means is when you start to let yourself feel, you will feel more. When you feel more, you will start to move through feeling. You won't get stuck in a particular thought. You won't get stuck in a particular sensation. When you allow yourself to express your emotions, even if it's just gently inside yourself, expressing, you will start to flow more through the sensations of your own womb. So, womb requires a flow. It requires a gentle and self-nurturing space that you can slowly start to unravel in. And this space can be a healing space. It can be a healing experience, but it can also be a space that you hold for yourself conceptually and inside, where you say, okay, I'm going to hold this space for myself for a week to do this practice, 15 minutes every day, to start to flow through whatever I'm holding in my womb. And I hope that by trying this out, you will learn how to become your own best space holder. Of course, you can come and do this in one-to-one work with me, or you can experience this in the womb room to a very deep degree, or in group healing sessions. But there really is nothing like learning how to deepen in self-trust and how to cultivate your own healing space within yourself. As you start to express the emotions that maybe you didn't even know were there, your sensations will change. You will not get stuck with a particular sensation if you're really truly flowing and emotionally receptive and you're expressing these emotions. As you start to express these emotions, of course you're going to start your body will start moving, your nervous system your nervous system patterns will start changing, because you're now moving through your emotional inner world, and charge that's held in your nervous system will start releasing. This will make it easier for you to be with the sensations that once felt very maybe alien or threatening. So womb does require us to express ourselves, to go deeper into those layers where we can really feel more of a self-connection with our body. We can feel more trust, and we're not too scared of the dark room with the box with the lid on, and actually we're more curious. Now, getting to the point of open curiosity and self-compassion takes time, because you have to have a few experiences of doing this first and getting to a place that feels safer. If every time you try to access a sensation and a thought, you get stuck and then you feel worse, it will be very difficult to convince yourself to go back into that room and gently lift the lid of the box and gently start to feel again. So having a few experiences of positively moving through and changing, and these sensations changing, and you expressing emotion and starting to understand your body and starting to understand your experiences that are held in your body, the more you do this, the more you will be able to do this. It's very much like it's self-fulfilling, because you will become more confident and feel safer within your body, and therefore when you meet sensations that feel dangerous, you have a baseline of safety to remember. Your body has a baseline of stillness to work from. And this is very important, especially if you're in later stages of your womb embodiment journey and you want to go very deep into aspects of, say, the spiritual womb, where maybe more ancestral trauma is held, or you want to go even further out into cosmic womb, where you want to go and access, divine deconstruction and really let go of identity structures that have really defined you. When you go into vaster spaces within yourself, it requires more self-trust. It requires deeper stillness to even feel what's vibrating there. And it requires more self-compassion to let yourself feel it without judging. I hope that this very short and brief guide into how to feel into your womb when the sensations feel threatening or difficult, with a 15-minute daily practice for 1 week, I hope that this will inspire you to start a active process. And active means you're journaling and you're being open and curious, and try not to get too stuck on what you think a sensation means, because we've all done this. We've all felt something and become absolutely convinced that this particular sensation in my body means this and it relates to this. It's useful sometimes to have that clarity. It's useful to know, okay, this sensation relates to this old injury or this particular event that happened to me, and these emotions are associated with it. that's very useful when it comes to understanding what your body's holding and also to resolving what's being held in your body. However, there are so many layers beyond that where we have to adapt and sometimes open up to the idea that there might be a new story emerging, something that we didn't even know. A totally new landscape might be unfolding for us, and that requires us to let go of what we believe and what our brain is processing and what our nervous system is holding as a particular experience. So whereby you might feel a particular event is related to that sensation. When you start to heal that, you might discover actually it's showing you something else. It's showing you a way to speak your voice more clearly, or it's showing you a way for you to be more deeply embodied every day in your own womb, or it's guiding you into a emotion of maybe joy and self-compassion that feels really foreign to you because you've always associated that sensation with grief. And how could it possibly be joy and love? So essentially what we do is we identify to disidentify. We identify in order to understand ourselves, in order to release a certain amount at that level, and then we get taken deeper. And when we go deeper, we need to acknowledge that we are opening up to new and unknown with our conscious mind at least, sensation and territory. And in that is a mystery, and in that mystery lies something that maybe we've been seeking all along. It might be that feeling that you imagined everybody else in the world feels, and you just can't quite grasp it. You just can't quite feel that. And maybe these sensations are taking you also deeper into that. So hold an open mind at all times. Try not to get stuck in a particular pattern or sensation for too long. Get stuck long enough for you to realize, okay, this is something that requires me to heal and move and flow through, and then eventually it will dissolve. But when you've dissolved it, don't get stuck in that same narrative. Allow your narrative to change. Allow yourself to recreate a narrative. So you're constantly recreating. And the last thing I'll say is remember, every sensation is carrying deep, deep healing and wisdom. Even the uncomfortable ones, even the ones that feel like I just need to get this out of my body. This cannot be doing any good for me whatsoever. And even those sensations will give you wisdom and will give you access to something deeper and more beautiful and more healing within yourself. So don't be afraid to experiment. And if you are afraid and you are already noticing that there's fear there when you connect with your womb, make a note of it. And don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like, well, you must be the only person who feels fear when you connect with the womb. This is a place within all human beings that is so, so potent and so powerful and holds such immense life force and potency and wisdom. Of course it's going to be scary. Of course it's going to feel threatening. It's going to feel threatening to our little minds and our existing ego structure and identity structure. Is going to feel immensely threatening because we're knocking on the door of something far, far bigger and deeper than our mind can comprehend. So allow yourself to journey within yourself with compassion and with a process. A process means you're able to look back and see patterns. You're able to look back and go, okay, on day 4 and day 5, it felt like this, and these were the emotions that came up, and this is what I experienced on day 4 and 5 in my life, in my relationships. This is how I felt in my body. When you start to keep a consistent journal, like you're a scientist in a lab and you're making consistent daily observations about your own body, it will feel much more organized in your mind when it comes to understanding what your body is holding and what your body is healing, rather than sporadically when the pain gets too much, just right before your bleed or during your bleed. Suddenly then it's the only time you lie down and connect with your womb, and then it all feels very chaotic and you can't make sense of any sensation because it's all too overwhelming. And then you say, wow, this is exhausting. I'm just going to take a couple of paracetamol and I'm going to end this pain, and I'm going to just forget that I ever felt this. And then the next month comes and you experience the same thing, or you do try to access womb, but it's difficult and it's uncomfortable. So you go, you know what, I kind of can't, I don't really want to be doing this. Let me go and find something else to do. And then your practice, your observations become scattered throughout the month, or throughout the months or the years. The way that you can accelerate your healing is by holding the feminine principle of flow and nurture for yourself, and the masculine principle of clarity and direction. When you hold both of those with a daily practice that uses all of your faculties, your body sensations, your emotional capacity, your cognitive capacity to understand what the narratives are, your energetic felt sense to actually feel what's going on in deeper layers of your experience. When you hold all of this together and you consistently learn from yourself, you will become not only your own teacher and feel safer in your own body, but you will be able to move through cycles of healing in a more graceful way, which will make it feel like the cycles are so much shorter and less convoluted and less confusing. And ultimately, you will suffer less. Doesn't mean you're not going to experience pain. Of course, feeling into sensations at all levels of your experience, in all levels of your healing journey, whether you've been on this healing path for 20 years or for 2 months, you're always going to experience, and you want to be able to experience and feel what pain feels like, because pain is a great messenger and it opens up these fractals of deeper information. And when you allow yourself to do this through the process, daily process, gracefully, and you reflect back on yourself, you will not only be proud of yourself for the fact you did it and you learned something about yourself, you will not only feel safer, but you will start to work through things quicker, which means you don't have to stay suffering in the same ego structure with the same narrative for many, many years. Because that is what can create more density than needs to be created. Sometimes it does take years to really fully complete I'll call it a learning chapter, a chapter of learning in your book, the book of your body. Sometimes it does take a long time for very, very deep processes, especially if you're working with, say, patterns of ancestral trauma, or you're working with, a lifetime of stuff that you've held in your body. But you don't have to suffer in the same state and be stuck as many people do feel, particularly when it comes to sexual trauma, that they are stuck in time. The reason why you feel stuck in time and you cannot move forward and you can't create anything new and nothing new is happening in your life and you don't have the energy to do anything, you don't have the belief that you can do anything differently, is because trauma collapses time in the body by holding you hostage to those sensations and to the narrative and the level of discomfort that you have come to associate and the fear level that you've come to associate those sensations with. It will hold you there until you go deeper and start to heal and release from your nervous system. So Allow yourself to compassionately flow through this journey. Don't feel like you're all on your own and you're the only person that's doing this. I can guarantee you, you're not the only person who is experiencing this, and you're not the only person who's listening to this podcast who's trying out this practice. So if you feel like, and it often does feel like that when you're doing very deep womb work, it often does feel like, gosh, I must be, these alien sensations, it must be just me that has to hold this. I don't want you to feel like you're on your own. Other people out there are doing womb work, are accessing deeper levels of their womb, are healing very, very deep imprints that are held in the womb. And just imagine you're lying down, you're doing this practice every day, and you're surrounded by lots of other beautiful people just like you who are also curious, trying to heal themselves, and who are also on this journey. And I hope that that will give you some strength to keep going. And if you do need more personal support and healing for your womb and for your trauma healing journey, then just reach out to me, and I offer free consultations. My consultations will help you to get clarity on what healing work needs to be done and what needs to be done at all levels. So physically, with your structure, emotionally, relationally, and also energetically and spiritually. So you're going to cover the whole spectrum with me, and I put together a 6-week program for you, which will be a very deep roadmap that will allow you to know, when you embark on a healing journey with me, what you're going to get from each and every session for the course of 6 weeks that you choose to do this program with me. And it can really kickstart a new chapter in your life and help you to write a new chapter of your book and turn that page which you've not been able to turn for so many years because of fear and because of what you might find in your body, to finally turn that page and start writing a new ending for yourself. You can also join the Womb Room, which is a 10-day rebirthing in the void of womb. It's an incredible 10 days where you will connect deeply with not just your own body and your trauma, but also your highest potential, and you will connect with each other. A beautiful and powerful space to recognize that you are not alone and you are healing as a collective. And the last womb room that we've had in September was absolutely out of this world. It was incredible. You can read what people have experienced in their own personal healing journey and what they have transformed in just 10 days. You can read on my website, kimiyahealing.co.uk/reviews. And if you would like to join the next journey, you are more than welcome. It will be announced soon. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful for all of you that are listening to this podcast and that are getting inspiration to go deeper into your womb space and deeper into your power. This is the seat of our creation, the womb, and it is the seat of our embodied power. So if that's what you're looking for at ever deeper levels, womb will never stop giving.